Nobody really expected what happened that day. It started just like any other morning in the small town Clay Hayes called home. He had his coffee, kissed his wife on the cheek, and walked out the door. But by noon, whispers had already begun circling around town, and something had gone wrong. Some said there was a phone call. Others mentioned a long stretch of highway and flashing lights. What exactly happened has never been fully confirmed, and out of respect for Clay's privacy, not everything is publicly known. But one thing is certain. From that moment forward, Clay Hayes was never quite the same. The man who once seemed untouchable, always composed, always focused, began to carry a different kind of weight on his shoulders. It was as if a shadow had been cast over his otherwise bright spirit. Those closest to him noticed the change first. He laughed a little less, spoke a little slower, and disappeared into the woods a lot more. Clay had always been a man of nature, bow hunting, tracking, living off the land. But after that day, the wilderness became something more than just his lifestyle. It became his refuge. To the outside world, he kept moving forward. His YouTube channel grew. He won alone, and he became a role model to so many people chasing freedom, discipline, and connection with the earth. But underneath all that success, there was a quiet pain, unspoken but deeply felt. He never made a big show of it. He never posted about it or asked for sympathy. But if you've watched him long enough, you've seen it in his eyes, especially when the camera lingers a little too long in silence. This isn't just a story about survival in the wild. It's about surviving something even harder: heartbreak, grief, and the kind of loss that can't be undone. Clay Hayes never wanted to be famous. Fame was never part of the plan. He was a biologist, a woodsman, a father, and a man completely at home in silence. Long before cameras followed his every move, Clay found peace where most people felt lost. In the deep woods, surrounded by nothing but trees, wind, and the rhythm of nature. That's where he felt most like himself. He didn't grow up rich or with any special advantages. Everything he learned, he earned. And what made Clay different wasn't just his skills, it was his mindset. He saw beauty in the difficult things. The kind of man who'd sit through a thunderstorm just to watch the lightning dance over a ridgeline. That mindset would later become a lifeline. After that difficult day, the one no one really talks about, Clay didn't fall apart. Instead, he pulled in tighter. He worked harder, got quieter, and dug even deeper into his calling. For Clay, nature wasn't an escape, it was therapy. He started building bows by hand, with care and precision, not for show but because it made him feel something real again. His videos reflected that raw honesty. You didn't watch Clay to be entertained, you watched to remember something. Something quiet, something wild, something real that the world forgets. His followers felt it too. They weren't just fans. Many were people healing from their own silent heartbreaks. Clay never had to say much. A glance, a pause, or a deep breath in the woods said it all. You could tell he carried something with him, not just in his backpack, but in his heart. And somehow, watching him keep going gave people hope. If Clay could keep walking forward, maybe they could too. And that's the quiet magic of his story. No drama, no spotlight, just strength born from pain, and the will to move forward anyway. It's hard to explain what a piece of wood can mean to someone unless you've lived a life like Clay Hayes. To most, a bow is just a tool, a weapon maybe, or a hunting accessory. But to Clay, it was something else entirely. After everything shifted in his life, after that day that left more questions than answers, Clay began crafting bows like a man rebuilding himself one layer at a time. He would shape the wood slowly, sanding it down, drawing the string, testing the curve. Every move done with focus and intent. It wasn't just about hitting a target, it was about control. About having at least one thing in this world that could still make sense. Because when life throws something at you that breaks your heart, the only way forward is to find a rhythm again. Clay found his in the draw of the bow, the whistle of an arrow, and the silence that followed. He wasn't trying to forget, he was learning how to live with it. In those long hours of bow making, he found meaning. Each bow carried a story, a bit of peace, and maybe even a little bit of healing. He began sharing the process with others, showing not just how to build a bow, but how to slow down and feel life again. And people listened, not just because he was good at what he did, and he was very good, but because the way he did it made you feel calm, like everything might be okay. Clay Hayes never said he was a teacher, but through his silence, his work, and his discipline, he taught thousands how to face pain without running. The bows he made weren't just for hunting, they were for holding on. They were the bridge between what he lost and what he still had left. When Clay Hayes stepped into the wilderness for alone, it wasn't just another survival challenge. For him, it was something much deeper, a test not just of skill, but of spirit. While most contestants feared the solitude, Clay welcomed it. After everything he had been through, silence wasn't scary. It was familiar. Out there in the unforgiving wild, there were no questions, no reporters, no reminders of what had been lost. Just trees, weather, and time. And that's exactly what Clay needed. On camera, he looked calm, focused, almost peaceful. But those who watched closely could see the weight he carried in the quiet moments. When he stared at the fire too long or paused before setting a snare, you could tell he wasn't just surviving the wilderness. He was surviving himself. Every night alone in that forest wasn't just about food or shelter. It was about facing thoughts most people run from. Memories, regrets, the stuff that creeps in when the world finally goes silent. And yet he stayed steady. Not because he had something to prove, but because he had something to remember. Clay knew the pain of loss, but he also knew how to carry it. Day by day, he crafted his camp, fished, hunted, and spoke only when he had something meaningful to say. And the world watched. Not just because he was good at surviving, but because he showed what real strength looks like. The kind that doesn't shout or boast, but quietly endures. When he finally won the competition, it wasn't a surprise. What was surprising was how many people felt like they won too. Through his journey, viewers saw something familiar: grief, patience, healing, and quiet courage. Clay didn't come out of that forest as a new man. He came out the same man, but more whole, more grounded, and somehow more connected to every person who had ever walked through their own silent storm. Clay Hayes is a man of few words, and that's exactly why every word he says matters. In a world full of loud opinions and endless noise, his quiet way of speaking feels like truth. He doesn't force his views on others. He doesn't try to sound wise. But when he does speak, whether it's in the woods, on camera, or during a quiet moment beside a campfire, you listen. And sometimes it's not even the words that stay with you. It's the silence between them. That pause, that breath, that look off into the distance. It all says more than most speeches ever could. Clay has seen things that changed him, and even though he never lays it all out in full detail, it shows. In how he talks about life and loss without ever needing to name names or relive painful moments. Some people carry their past like a wound. Clay carries his like a scar, healed over but always there. And when he shares his thoughts about patience, resilience, or simply just showing up, because you know those ideas weren't born in a classroom or written for a script. They came from real life, from heartbreak, from recovery, from building something steady in a world that can fall apart overnight. And it's that honesty, that quiet integrity, that's made people trust him. You don't watch Clay Hayes to be hyped up. You watch him to slow down, to feel grounded again, to be reminded that maybe the answers we're chasing aren't out there in the noise. They're right here, in the stillness, in the simple acts of showing up and staying true. Clay may not say much, but what he doesn't say might be the most powerful part of his story. For Clay Hayes, the wilderness is more than just a backdrop. It's a teacher, a healer, and a place where he can rebuild his broken pieces. When life dealt him a heavy blow, Clay didn't turn away from the wild. Instead, he turned toward it, seeking answers in the quiet rustle of leaves and the steady pulse of the earth beneath his feet. Nature, with all its unpredictable beauty and raw power, became Clay's sanctuary. Out there, he found a rhythm that no city noise could drown out. The chirping of birds, the crackling of a campfire, the whisper of wind through the trees. Each moment in the wild reminded him that life, like the forest, can be both fragile and resilient. You have to be patient, observant, and willing to adapt. Clay's relationship with nature isn't about conquering or controlling. It's about listening and learning. Through tracking animals, building shelters, and hunting with a bow he handcrafted himself, Clay reconnects with a deeper part of himself, one that knows pain but refuses to be defined by it. The wild teaches him to endure, to heal, and to keep moving forward, even when the path is uncertain. For viewers, watching Clay survive and thrive in the wilderness is inspiring, not just because of his physical skill, but because it shows a man finding peace after tragedy. It's a reminder that healing isn't always loud or fast. Sometimes it's slow, steady, and found in the smallest details. A footprint in the mud.
The shimmer of a fish in the river. The first light breaking over the mountains. Clay Hayes' story is proof that even after heartbreak, life can grow new roots and rise stronger than before. Clay Hayes never took responsibility lightly, especially the kind that weighs heavy on the heart. After everything he endured, he carried a deep sense of duty, not just for himself, but for those who looked up to him. Being a father added another layer to that burden. Clay's daughter became a source of light in his life, a reason to keep fighting when the world felt dark and uncertain. Through his videos and life, he showed that strength isn't about hiding pain or pretending everything is perfect. It's about being real, showing up even when it's hard, and protecting those you love with everything you have. That sense of responsibility extended beyond family, too. Clay's followers saw in him a model of resilience, humility, and grit. He never set out to be a hero, but people saw in him what they wanted to be, a person who faced tragedy, accepted it, and still found a way to move forward with honor. The pressure of carrying those expectations wasn't easy. Sometimes it meant putting his own struggles aside to give others hope. Sometimes it meant staying silent about his pain, so he wouldn't burden anyone else. But Clay's quiet strength showed that real leadership isn't about loud declarations. It's about steady presence and unwavering commitment. Through every challenge, he reminded those who watched that healing is a journey, not a destination. And no matter how heavy the weight, the right reasons can keep you carrying it forward. Clayhayes' story isn't just about surviving tragedy. It's about carrying the weight of it with grace for yourself and for everyone who needs to see that even broken things can still stand strong. Most people only see the surface of Clayhayes' life, the quiet strength, the survival skills, the victories. But beneath that surface lies an unseen battle that Clay fights every day. Grief and trauma don't always show up as tears or anger. Sometimes they live quietly inside, like a shadow that follows but never announces itself. Clay's story is a reminder that even the strongest among us have wounds we can't always see. The pain he carries isn't just about one moment or one event. It's a collection of losses, regrets, and what-ifs that linger in the background of every day. But instead of letting that pain define him, Clay chooses to face it head-on, in his own way and on his own terms. Whether it's through the solitude of the wilderness, the focus of making a bow, or the discipline of a survival challenge, he finds ways to keep moving forward despite the weight he carries. This invisible fight takes courage, the kind that doesn't make headlines but shapes a person's soul. It's a reminder that healing isn't always about forgetting or moving on quickly. Sometimes it's about learning to live alongside your pain and still find meaning. Clay doesn't pretend to have all the answers. He shares his journey honestly, showing others that it's okay to struggle, to feel lost, and to keep trying anyway. His story helps break the stigma around mental health in the outdoors community and beyond. The unseen battle Clay fights is part of what makes his journey so powerful. Not just a tale of survival, but a story of resilience, vulnerability, and hope in the face of darkness. Clayhayes' journey isn't just about what he's survived, it's about what he's building for the future, brick by brick, moment by moment. Beyond the impressive wilderness skills and survival wins that first captured attention, Clay is quietly creating a legacy rooted in authenticity, resilience, and human connection. His influence stretches far beyond his YouTube channel or competition victories. It lives most powerfully in the countless people he inspires every day to face their own struggles with courage, humility, and an open heart. Clay's story is a profound reminder that tragedy doesn't have to break us. In fact, when we allow it, it can become the very force that shapes us into something stronger, wiser, and more compassionate than we were before. Instead of hiding vulnerability, Clay shows us that vulnerability is true strength, the kind of strength that comes from being real, honest, and willing to walk through the hardest moments without turning away. He uses his platform not only to teach practical skills, like crafting bows by hand or surviving in the wild, but also to share moments of quiet reflection in nature, moments that honor both the pain and the power that come from life's toughest lessons. Clay is deeply aware of the responsibility that comes with being a role model to thousands, and he never takes this lightly. Every video he posts, every story he tells, every silent, contemplative moment on screen is a challenge to his audience to rethink what it really means to be strong. To Clay, strength isn't about loud declarations or flashy displays of toughness. It's about being steady, true, and consistent, showing up for yourself and others even when it's difficult. This message is especially important in a world that often values quick success and superficial bravado over patience, integrity, and depth. For Clay, the legacy he's building is deeply personal. It's about showing his daughter what it means to face hardship with grace, to carry kindness in your heart, even when life tries to harden you, and to move through the world with empathy and humility. In doing so, he offers a powerful counterpoint to the chaos and disconnection that many experience today. His story reminds us of the power in slowing down, paying close attention, and simply being real with ourselves and others. Ultimately, the heartbreaking tragedy Clay Hayes endured is not the end of his story. It is, in fact, the beginning of a legacy that will continue to inspire and uplift long after the cameras stop rolling. His life is a testament to the idea that even after the darkest nights, new days come, and with them, new opportunities to build something meaningful. Clay's journey shows us that survival is only part of the story. The true victory lies in what we choose to do with the life that follows, how we carry our pain, and how we transform it into hope and purpose. In this way, Clay Hayes is more than a survivalist or an outdoorsman. He is a teacher of resilience, a quiet warrior of the human spirit, and a living example of the power of healing. His legacy invites all of us to be more authentic, more compassionate, and more courageous in our own lives. And perhaps, most importantly, it teaches us that no matter the heartbreak we endure, the future we build can be even stronger than the past we leave behind. At the heart of Clay Hayes' story lies a truth that many overlook when faced with tragedy. Hope is often born in the deepest valleys of despair. Clay's journey is not simply one of survival in the wilderness or skill with a bow. It's a profound testament to the human spirit's ability to rise after being broken. The heartbreak that once threatened to consume him could have become his end. Instead, Clay chose to make it his beginning, a starting point for healing, growth, and transformation. He never sought the spotlight or sympathy. What Clay sought, quietly and with determination, was a way to rebuild his life on his own terms. The world saw his calm exterior, his incredible feats of endurance, and his quiet strength. But beneath that surface, Clay was engaged in a daily battle, one far more challenging than any survival challenge on camera. The battle to reconcile with loss, to carry invisible scars, and to keep moving forward when the weight of grief feels unbearable. Clay's story teaches us that healing is not linear. It is not a destination you arrive at and declare, "I am healed." Healing is a messy, complicated journey filled with setbacks, quiet victories, and moments of grace. For Clay, the wilderness became a sanctuary, a place where pain could be confronted, not escaped. Every step through the forest, every crafted bow, every night spent under the stars was part of a larger process of reclaiming his life. He found that strength is not about being unbreakable, but about the courage to continue, despite the cracks. Clay's ability to carry that pain with grace has inspired thousands. His story is a beacon for anyone struggling in silence, showing that while heartbreak can leave deep wounds, it does not have to define the rest of your life. More than a survivalist or a quiet outdoorsman, Clay Hayes is a symbol of resilience. His journey reminds us that even in our darkest moments, hope can be found. It might not be loud or flashy. It might come softly, in the form of a gentle breeze or a quiet sunrise. But it is there, waiting for us to reach out and grasp it. Clay's life is proof that the human spirit can endure unimaginable sorrow and still find purpose, peace, and joy again. For those who have walked through their own storms, his story offers a powerful message. No matter how heavy the burden you carry, you are never truly alone. And every step forward, no matter how small or slow, is a victory worth celebrating. In the heartbreaking tragedy of Clayhayes, there lies not just pain, but a profound hope. A hope that reminds us all that life, even after loss, is still beautiful and worth fighting for.